Welcome back to the third installment of Easy Music Theory. Today I will tell you what an interval is and how we use them. I will also talk about using chords together that sound good, not just single notes. Last time we talked about the major scale, going to rely heavily on that today, because after all, we just want to be able to play the notes that sound good together. Let's continue. So the C major scale, again, last lesson, we talked about what the major scale is and how to figure out the major scale for any key. Here is the C major scale. If you need more help with that, go look at the last lesson. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to assign each note in the C major scale. I'm going to assign it a number. We'll start with 1 and we'll just move up. So C is 1, D is 2. We're just numbering the notes. When we hit the next C, we're back to 1 because it just continues or repeats itself. So whether you realize it or not, I just told you what intervals are. The definition is technically the distance between two notes, usually steps in a scale. So intervals are where the notes are in relation to each other. So D is the second interval in the key of C major. E is the third interval in the key of C major, and so on. You can figure out the rest. We usually shorten, we don't usually say interval after every one. We would say D is the second of C, or E is the third of C. But those are what intervals are. Let's take the G major scale, and let's write that down. If you remember the G major scale from last time, let's figure out the intervals for the G major scale. All we're doing is numbering the notes. That's all we're doing. So if somebody says, all right, what is the fourth interval in the key of G? Well, it's C. C is the fourth note in the key of G major. If we go back up to C major, the fourth interval is F. So that's what intervals are. We're just numbering the notes in the scale. Let's get rid of G major. All right, key concept for you. The notes in a scale, they can also be played as chords. Instead of hitting the C key all by itself, you might want to play a C chord. After all, a chord is just a fuller sounding note. But it's not quite that easy. We're using the major scale to find out what notes go together. But if we were to play chords instead of the single notes individually, some of the chords are major, some are minor. That's just the way it is. So how do we figure out what's what? Well, this is the rules for for a major scale. The 1, 4, and 5 intervals are major chords. The 2, 3, and 6 are minor chords. The seventh interval is a diminished chord. We'll get to that later on. So we'll use this key of C major as an example. And if we're writing a song in the key of C, we'll use the major scale to figure out the notes that go together. And if we were to play them as chords, they would look like this. C major would be the one chord. D minor would be the chord we would play. E minor, it's the third interval. By definition, it's a minor chord. The fourth is F major, G major, A minor as the sixth. Seventh is diminished. We put that little DIM next to it. And when we get back to the root, the C, it is, of course, C major. Now, when we write these down on paper, there is a way that we usually represent the major and minor chords. Normally, we swap out the normal numerals, the normal numbers, and we replace them with upper and lowercase Roman numerals. Again, it's just sort of the way it is. Uppercase for major chords, lowercase for minor chords. The diminished chord gets a little temperature circle thingy. So if we were to write it down, C would be the one chord, C major, D minor, lowercase 2, E minor, lowercase 3, F4, G5, A minor, lowercase 6. B diminished, you'd get the 7 with the little circle temperature thing, and C brings us back to a capital 1. You'll see it written down like this a whole bunch. People will refer to this. And this is how musicians talk to each other about what chords they're playing. They'll say, okay, the song is in C, the verse is 1, 3, 6, and the chorus is 4, 2, 5. Or written out somewhere, the same example, somebody could write this down on paper and hand it to you. The verse is 1, 3, 6. And the chorus is 4-2-5, which would mean the verse is C, E minor, A minor, and the chorus would be F, D minor, G. I don't know. Maybe that's a hit. I just made up those numbers. If you play those chords and they sound good, I will take all the credit for it. Musicians refer to these numbers all the time. Rock is built on the 1-4-5 progression. Progression is just the sequence of chords that you will play. A 1-4-5 progression. Rock is built on it. For example, Blue Suede Shoes by Elvis. It is the 1-4-5. Yeah, I'll play it in the key of A, D, E. Obviously, I'm dumbing it down a whole lot. I'm not even playing the major chords. I'm just hitting the individual notes because I want you to see what keys I'm playing. I don't want you to be confused by me hitting multiple keys and playing a chord. But that would be A major, D major, and E major. Let's move to the next example. Twist and Shout by the Beatles. Again, it's 1-4-5. I'll do it in the key of C. And it's really easy. The key of C, again, are all the white keys. And if you noticed, I played C. And then I played the fourth white key away, which is F. And then I played the fifth white key away, which is G, the 1-4-5 progression. Last example, Blitzkrieg Bop by the Ramones. It's the same thing, 1-4-5. I'll do it in the key of A again. All right, now you know the major scales, which tell you what notes and chords to play in a certain key. You also know which chords are major and minor and diminished. And you know how to refer to these chords as numbers, both verbally and written down. And for that, lesson 3, see what I did there? I'm keeping with the theme. Lesson 3 is complete. Thanks for watching.